It feels good to continue this series, though the subject isn't one I expected to talk about again, Genshin Impact. This video contains heavy spoilers for Act 4 of the Natlan arc, so if you don't want any, run. For those remaining, let me start by clarifying I'm not saying Genshin's the only game to use gameplay to tell a story, nor is it the only game to portray war. However, it's the first I've seen do both at once, to make the player feel like they're actively taking part in a large-scale battle and suffering alongside everyone else, instead of running from one set piece or cutscene to another. In the grand scheme of things, no matter how skilled you are or how elaborate your gear, Genshin makes you feel like just another soldier trying to hold the line. Let's break this down. Act 4 up to this point feels like an ordinary quest. There's a mystery to be solved in Auron and Capitano's actions. You track them down and foil their plans, discovering a hidden piece of Tevat's history in the process. Mahuika and Capitano declare a truce, with the latter agreeing to give the former's plan to save Natlan a chance before executing his more drastic one. All good, and you'd think that was the end of it. The game even tricks you into thinking this by letting you question the newly unveiled Lord of the Night as you would a person of interest at the end of other Archon quests. But it's not the end. There's a small scene where two others question the Lord in secret, but that could just be a post-credit scene of what's to come. But that's not it either. Instead, you're told the Abyss, a faction of monsters that seems to have an intelligent master, has attacked. But that's okay, you've seen an attack like this before, so it's business as usual. Wrong again. This time, they've attacked everyone, and everyone's been called to action. Mahuika is deploying her troops and about to head into one battlefield by herself, and she tasks you with fighting the Abyss as well. Still, this is within expectations. But then the game presents you with a map of the region with Abyss sightings marked on it, and you realize they really are everywhere. The first fight is simple enough. The NPCs around you are safe, and the scouts have up-to-date intel to share as well. But one of the NPCs asks you to keep an eye out for a relative in the next fight. But okay, you can do that. You reopen the map, the Abyss corruption is still low, but now 2 zones are marked as high risk. You have to choose which to save. Do you try to find the missing NPC, or do you base your decision on which region is facing more dangerous monsters? You make a choice either way, fight your next battle, and if you do the optional objectives you save an extra person. The corruption is still low, but the death count has increased. Not good, and you should get used to that. The deaths rise, and your choices affect how many, and once the Abyss starts its second wave of attacks, the corruption rises too. You used to save everyone you saw, but now there are bodies. Sometimes people die on you if you don't repel the invaders fast enough, which gets harder because the enemies are getting stronger and some are even invincible. You don't even get to wait for your balloon rides to end anymore. The game just throws you straight into the next fight. The music changes to a new mournful tune. The scouts disappear and this affects your reports. Until this point, the map showed everyone you know where and how they are. Now those descriptions are replaced with warnings that you've lost contact with them. The Abyss's spread goes out of control and many regions are lost altogether. Their descriptions reduced to "nothing can live here" or simply reminding you of the dead you saw there. Even named characters aren't safe. One example that stands out to me is Mualani, who's fighting in the south. A wave of corruption cuts her off from the rest of Natlan bit by bit, but there's nothing you can do and she's cut off entirely. The fighting is exhausting as a player and everyone around you is 1 or 2. They're desperate for a break that isn't coming. Even Paimon, the ever-optimistic guide, can no longer tell you where to go and breaks down at the recurring sight of bodies. Needless to say, when some NPCs give you a chance to sit down, you take it. The Traveler may be strong, but they can't be everywhere at once. Saving one group of people means leaving another to die, and no matter how many fights you win in one spot, the Abyss gains too much ground everywhere else. The game instills such a strong sense of dread within you. You're not special, you're just another soldier, and just like the others, you are suffering. Even your final balloon trip changes partway because your intended destination is overrun before you can land. But Genshin also gives you the catharsis a soldier would feel when the tides are turned. Just when hopes are at their lowest, the final hero awakens. One of the few capable of unlocking a great power hidden within Natlan. Together, the 6 perform a ritual that grants Mahuika unimaginable strength with which she lights up the sky and grants everyone strength and immortality. The music is changed to another new track. This one is also somber but is encouraging, not disparaging. While those who died before are gone for good, the death count keeps resetting to what it was at the start of the sequence. What used to be undefeatable enemies and structures fall with ease. People who had once resigned themselves to last stands are charging ahead, cheering their friends on. Confidence is rising, even Paimon starts complaining about the loudmouth Ahau again. You don't need hot air balloons anymore, now you can fly through the air on the spirit waves Mahuika is creating with her power. The abyssal corruption plummets and Mahuika delivers a coup de grace with a final blow that shatters the source of the abyss itself. Everyone's in shock, but then it hits that the battle is over. They high-five, hug, or just sag with relief because they've won. And after everything everything you've done, you are likely reacting the same way. It's hard to spell out how all of this feels to play if you aren't playing it yourself or at least watching someone else experience it in real time. This is an entire stretch of gameplay that doesn't let up. I dare say even games like Spec Ops: The Line can't compare to the feeling this invokes being on the ground, as it were, since it doesn't tie the feeling of being in a war to the gameplay nearly as well as Genshin does. It's harrowing and only made worse when you're loaded into a room filled with flowers and a list of the deceased, including NPCs you've met during your time in the region. At the same time, you share the relief of the characters when you attend their victory feast and listen to Malvika's speech thanking them for their work, yet after what you experience you still feel apprehensive when she says the fight isn't over yet. But that's a story for another time. For now you've earned your rest, but you can still explore Natlan and see the signs left behind by those who are no longer with us. Gacha and Chinese games both get a bad reputation simply for being gacha or Chinese games, and as it's both, Genshin is doubly hated. But don't let that bias stop you from experiencing such a profound and thoughtful integration of gameplay and narrative. If you're a game developer trying to do something similar, Natlan Act 4 is definitely worth studying. The Reddit thread in which I first posted these thoughts and collected people's views, some of which I used to flesh this video out further, is in the description. Thank you all for your time. Please like, comment and subscribe to help the channel. If you also played this, how many people did you get killed? But as always, have a great day.